Today we are going to be talking about the most frequent question that I get in my DMs, and that is, how do I remember my dreams? There's actually a lot that goes into this, so make sure you stay until the end. If you're new here, I'm Jade. I'm a dream interpreter and dream witch. I talk about dream symbology, lucid, astral, nightmares, and everyday dream magic. So back to the question, how do I remember my dreams? In order to look at this, we kind of need to look at the anatomy and the science behind the scenes. So the brain's long-term memory systems, specifically the hippocampus, are suppressed during REM sleep. And short-term memory fades about 30 seconds after you wake up. So unless you wake up directly after a dream or in a dream, the memories just kind of float away. So a few facts about the hippocampus, and I was actually kind of surprised about a few of these. So you have two hippocampi, and they are located behind the ears. And they were named by a guy named Julius Caesar, not to be confused with the Roman dictator. This Julius Caesar named them, coined the name in 1587, I believe, and it's because they look like seahorses, apparently. The word is Greek. Hippo means horse, and campus means sea monster. So I guess together that is seahorse and hippocampus. Anyways, moving on. Outside of dreaming, the hippocampus acts like a sort of storage vault, and it transitions short-term experiences into long-term memories. So still on the fun facts about the hippocampus is the part of your brain that is responsible for learning, remembering, imagining, and dreaming. So now that we know a little bit about the functionality of the hippocampus, we can kind of move on to some of the other factors that might be keeping you from remembering your dreams. First one we can talk about is sleep hygiene. And let's be honest, are you getting enough sleep? That needs to be 6 to 8 hours consistently, consecutively, not just like a one night off. You got 6 to 8 hours and then the rest of the week you kind of slept like crap. This needs to be consistent in order for your stores to build up. Like, what kind of happens is the body will prioritize restful sleep over REM sleep, and you won't be able to remember your dreams as well because it's prioritizing being more sound while you sleep. Okay, so another big one is, what are you eating before bed? So this one is really curious, actually. If you are eating high carb, if you're eating sweets or candy, sugars, those types of things, that will actually spike your blood sugar and it will boost your brain activity. So people who are eating those types of things before bed might see a pop or a spike in nightmares. They might have like really vivid or wild kind of out there dreams. The body is signaling to the brain, and then it's creating this kind of reaction. So be cognizant of what you are putting in your body before you are going to sleep. What are the conditions of your sleep space? So this one is more important than you think, and it's probably the one that's the most overlooked in the sleep hygiene category. So if you see piles of things around you, that is sending a message to the brain and saying that there's clutter, right? It's overloading your visual cortex. It's like making it harder for your brain to relax. And if you have unfinished, like if you're a list person and you kind of have like a million to-do lists and none of them are crossed off, this one's for you, because it's like having open tabs, and having all these unresolved tasks and open tabs is signaling to the brain to be a bit more active and not fully fall into that restful state. Be honest, if you have a million to-do lists, and I mean, I know I do, and it's not to say that, having one or more of these things, one or two of these things isn't, like, we all have messes and we all have to-do lists, and we will sometimes eat things before bed that we're not supposed to. But if you are not dreaming and you want to be, that is when I would start cleaning up these areas of your life. Okay, so now let's move into some of the more fun parts of remembering your dreams, and that starts with plant allies. So you can use these in teas, tonics, oils, dream pillows. You can hang them in your room. There's specific ones that you can hang in your room for specific properties, remembering dreams, things like that. So let's get into a few of those. I will probably make a specific video on plant allies that have to do with dream work. So leave me a comment if that's something that you're interested in. And then just a caveat before, make sure you consult with your physician or your doctor before you are adding any herbs into your system, your body, if you're pregnant, nursing, or you're on any medications, just because that can, in some cases, interact with medications or herbs that can dry up your milk supply or that are just not good for pregnancy. So it's really important that you are consulting a doctor if any of those things are going on in your life. If you have any allergies as well, if you are typically prone to allergies, you should check with your doctor. There we go. So the first herb that I want to talk about is mugwort. And mugwort, it enhances dream recall and it brings a sort of vividness to your dream space. So I love mugwort and I actually make a really great lucid dream tea with it. Mugwort is a very common nervine. It's a nighttime herb. The next herb that I want to talk about is mint, and historically, mint has been used to receive prophetic dreams and to sharpen dream recall and to protect against nightmares. So it's kind of a powerhouse. Plus, you can make teas, you can make tonics with it. Again, same with mugwort. You can make teas, tonics, dream pouches, and we'll kind of get into that later on in this video. But one thing that I like to do is just use mint from my garden. You'll smack it a little to activate it. You can put it in your water, and there you have like a mint tonic. You can also put herbs in some carrier oils. I really like jojoba oil, but you can use almond or glycerin oil. Depending on where you're putting it too. I would, like if you're going to put it on your body, you might do jojoba or glycerin just because those are pretty good for your skin. Okay, so the next herb is rosemary, and this is my like personal favorite herb. I've been working with rosemary for a few years now. I put it in everything. I put it in sweet things. I put it in savory things. I use rosemary oil in my hair. I use it as a body spray. I have just like so many products that I have made that I use with rosemary, not to mention, putting it in teas, and you can put like a rosemary sprig in your bedroom window or above your bed for protection. But it is also good for remembering dreams. So it brings peaceful dreams in and it wards off nightmares, and it helps you remember those peaceful dreams. Valerian root and lavender, those will typically be herbs that are more on the relaxing side. So those will help you to get a better night's sleep and kind of drift into those deeper sleep states. And I know it seems kind of counterintuitive because it's like, if you are in deep sleep, how will you get to the REM sleep? But like I said before, your body will prioritize deep sleep over REM. So if you aren't getting enough sleep, those are going to be great herbs to help you to get enough sleep to then step into REM states eventually. We only talked about a few herbs today, but with all that being said, if you have not started using herbs or you do not use herbs currently, I would just use a like one at a time to start and kind of see the effects of it on your body. One, you might not know if you have any allergies to it. Not that many people do, but if you are prone to allergies, I would definitely just try one at a time after consulting your doctor, of course. For instance, mugwort, valerian root, and lavender are very relaxing. So if you mix them together, it could make you like really, really drowsy. And that's just not something that you want, especially if you are using them like to enhance your practice of dream recall. So just be careful is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so we talked a little bit about herbs. One thing you can use to start to build on your dream recall practice is make a dream pouch. Those can be really fun to make and really personal and honestly pretty easy. Super simple. You'll just need a square of fabric and some string and any type of herbs that you want to put in. We talked about 4 or 5 herbs already, and if any of those sound like plant allies that you want to work with, you could utilize those in your dream pouch. Or, if there are any crystals or any personal items that you feel called to put in them, you can do that too. I would also layer in some cotton and, or feathers, something to give it like a little cush. And you can do this a couple different ways. So, number one, you can grab a piece of, I've got like some scrap fabrics right here. So you grab a piece, and kind of where you see this circle is where you would place your herbs, your ingredients, all your materia, anything that you want to be inside of the dream pouch. And then, let me make a little switcheroo here. All right. And then you would kind of like ball it at the bottom, right? And then kind of wrap a piece of string or a piece of twine, something that will hold it all together. And as you're placing in the herbs, I should mention this, it's great to, program your herbs and kind of tell them what you need them to do. What are they working for? Are they helping you to remember the dreams? Are they helping you to ward off nightmares? Are they helping you to get an introduction with a deity? Make sure that you are telling them what you want them to do, because I don't know if you've looked online, but each herb can do like a million things. And if you're not being specific, it's not going to be able to help. It's going to be kind of like an empty shell in that sense. Make sure you're programming your herbs. Okay. The other way that you can make a dream pillow, and this is kind of a big piece of fabric, but we'll just go with it. Okay. So this is a really big piece. I would probably use, I don't know, I would say I wouldn't use half. I would use like 2/3 of this really. Um, so same with this. This is what I would stick like your cotton in or your feathers or something to give it a little cush. I would start by sewing around the edges, like sew the edges, and then leave a little hole somewhere where you can stuff in all your materia. Okay, and then a cool thing about sewing things like this is you can add intention into your string. You can add intention while you're sewing, and um, while you are sewing it, you can say, I'm using this dream pillow to remember my dreams. I'm using this dream pillow to remember my dreams. I would just, repeat that over and over again until you have it sewn. And you can hand sew or sew with your sewing machine. Stuff in all of your stuff. I know you already said this. And then once everything is in, you're going to finish sewing it. So that little spot that we left open, you're going to finish sewing that. And then you can, with that, I would probably do like a different type of stitch, like maybe a loop stitch. Also, if you guys want tutorials on how to make dream pouches, like a more like in-depth discussion here, I would love to do that, because I love crafting and I'm just looking for other things I can share with you guys that would be useful to you. So anyways, you will finish sewing that with a loop stitch probably. I just would like to use something different, because then when I see it and I see that, I've repeated this mantra intention while sewing it, it kind of takes me back to that moment, and it reminds me and my subconscious mind about what the pillow is for. The next thing, which is kind of attached to this in a way. So intentions. Intentions. You got to set an intention to remember your dreams. If you are not already, it could be as simple as, I will remember my dreams tonight. It could be a sort of, this is a little advanced, but a dream incubation where you are writing something and you're putting it under your pillow. I will remember my dreams tonight. And saying that in your head or out loud or writing it down will also signal to the mind, to the subconscious mind, that that is something that you're actively trying to do. And I've had people say that that simple technique has worked for them. And it's nice because you don't really need much to do it. You just have to take the time to do it, which I think most people don't. And I think that's why there's a problem. But yeah, just simply say, like, I will remember my dreams tonight. And I will try to make that the last thing that I say to myself before, if I was going to do any screen watching, if I was going to do my bedtime routine, I would make sure to say that after, like as I'm laying down. I'm laying in bed and I'm like in the midst of falling asleep. I will remember my dreams tonight. Okay. There is another exercise that you can do with a glass of water. You would get a clear glass of water, and you're going to stick it next to your bed. You're going to hold it before you fall asleep, and you'll say something like, "Dear water that holds the memory of all, help me to remember my dreams tonight." Okay, you're going to drink half the water, and then in the morning when you wake up, the first thing you're going to do is drink the rest of the water. And that's supposed to do, like, again, signal to the conscious and the subconscious mind that there's like a link between the water and you remembering your dreams. So again, setting intentions can be really useful. You don't need much to do it. You just have to take the time. I only have a few left, so if you are still with me, congrats. The ones towards the end of this video I think are some of my favorites, so I'm glad you made it this far. So you can use something like a totem, and these I've actually been wanting to make. You can make a totem for anything, but I think it's really cool to make one for remembering your dreams or for lucid dreams. And the ones that I've been thinking of making in my head, I would make like a little circle, kind of like a worry stone, but you can infuse it with herbs. And so I was thinking about putting like mugwort in one, or lavender, and kind of letting it air dry and then painting like a clear gloss over it. And so the idea behind a totem is that you hold it, and again, with the intention, you'd be like, this totem is to remember my dreams, and carry it somewhere that you'll have access to it often, or put it somewhere where you can see it often. It doesn't need to be a type of like worry stone, or something that you make. Even you could find a piece of fabric, or maybe it's like a hat that you have or that you want to wear more, or something, a hair tie on your wrist. That one used to be a good one for me. And basically something that it will make you take a second look at the room, or your wrist, or it will make you kind of be like, whoa, what is that? Oh yeah, I'm supposed to remember my dreams. Anyways, where it's just like, oh hey, remember your dreams, remember your dreams, remember your dreams. It's kind of soft and playful, like you can make them anything. There was a friend of mine that anytime her clothes would break, she would sew, like if there was a rip or something in it, she would sew it, and she would call it a lucky. And I kind of like that because you could do that and then sew, you could use like blue for protection as well, and sew it and be like, I will remember my dreams. I will remember my dreams. And then anytime you find a piece of your clothing that has that stitch in it, it will just signal to your mind to remember your dreams. Anyways, that one's a little much, but you can use that practice in other things, like for protection if you want to. I should also mention you could use something like a crystal to be your totem. Okay, that's it. Last thing before we get into a couple exercises are dream altars. And I have a video of this on my Instagram of me kind of building one. You are still in the broom closet, and maybe you're not even like, you don't even consider yourself a witch, but you want to remember your dreams, because everybody dreams. A dream altar, essentially, like, I would like to think of this as like a totem, an intention, and like a dream pouch, like all combined in one. And you threw them in a pot, and then out popped a dream altar. So essentially, it's a magic space for you to contain all of your dream magic workings. And I would say, like, I have my regular altar where I do all my other magical workings, and this is specifically for dreams. You can write like dream notes if you work with any specific deities in your dreams, or for dream work. You can write them notes, you can write them petitions. I have a specific plant on my dream altar that I like to work with, and I will write notes to deities, and I will put it in the soil of my dream plant. So this is a space that you can come to before you go to sleep, and you can light a candle and say like, I will remember my dreams tonight. Taking a second to be with yourself in that space, that will help make that connection, that conscious subconscious connection, that you are ready to do the work for this. And you can have dream altars, on a shelf, on a dresser, in like a small tin. I'm trying to do a specific course or class on making tin dream altars for under the bed. So if that's something that you want to see a tutorial on, please let me know in the comments. Yeah, those can be really fun, and I like it because I love building an altar. I really like making an aesthetic space that doesn't necessarily go with any of my other decorations, because I don't have decorations in my house besides that spot, and it's like where I'm allowed to put all of the weird things that I want. Yeah. So this gives me another chance to do that, but it's like, oh, it's like even better because I like dreams so much and I just nerd out about this, so I get to put all of the weird, dreamy, nerdy, witchy things there. The last part of this video is going to be the small practices to try. So when you wake up, again, your short-term memory has about 30 seconds before everything that you just saw is gone. So when you wake up, the first thing that you're going to want to do is lay there. You're just going to want to lay there. Keep your eyes closed, do not move, and try to see if you can pull any fragments of information out. These I like to call like threshold spaces. So when your head hits the pillow, that's like a threshold space. That is where you can kind of tap back into the space between dreaming and being awake. And this can happen to you kind of anywhere. It's like kind of when you're doing mundane tasks. It happens to me a lot when I'm driving. So if you're in one of these thresholds and you start to see fragments of your dreams, I would try to concentrate on those and do your best to try to pull out anything. And then once you see any of these fragments, after you have woken up and you kind of laid there, or you're doing something mundane like the dishes or driving, and you're starting to see symbols, I would record them. Record them, whether that's like a voice note or you're writing them down. You have a special app on your phone or notes app somewhere, put it down. Once you start to write your dreams down, that is, that's the key. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to remember our dreams, and then it will happen more and more often. I promise you. So the next exercise, there are a couple out of the box ones, so bear with me. You can set an alarm for 10 minutes earlier than your normal wake up time. So REM cycles are about 90 to 120 minutes, and then you kind of go back into a deep sleep, right? So REM is rapid eye movement, and during these cycles are when we dream. And if you're at the end of that cycle, it's when you're going to fall into a deeper sleep, and you want to wake up while you're in the cycle so that you can pull out dreams. Setting an alarm 10 minutes before you normally wake up, that could trigger, maybe you're waking up and you're already past that cycle. If you go to sleep at the same time every night and you're waking up at the same time every morning, you are missing that window. So the idea would be to set it a little earlier, so maybe you hit that REM cycle, you're able to wake up and pull something out. But also try setting your alarm like based off of when the REM cycles could appear. So it would be like every 4.5 hours, 5 hours, or even 7.5 hours into sleeping. And this could wake you up in a REM cycle, and then you have, so much time to kind of recall what you saw and then write it down. And, those kinds of things will stack up over time. And then the last one that I want to talk about, and these kind of fun, creative ways that you can, ruin your sleep. They're not going to ruin your sleep. They're not going to ruin your sleep, but I've tried some of these before, and I would try them when my husband would be at work, because if you're in the bed next to somebody and you're waking yourself up every 3 or 4 hours just to try to remember your dreams, it gets kind of annoying for the other person. So keep that in mind. The last one is your brain kind of knows, like, I don't know about you, but it knows when my alarm's going to go off. Like, I kind of step out of that deep dream state and I kind of come out into like a clear zone. Then you're able to remember your dreams in a more like clear, conscious way. And then what do you know? 2 minutes later, my alarm goes off. That's also a great trick to use. So that is it on today's video. And if you like this video and you want to see more and talk more about dreams, I talk about dream symbology, lucid astral nightmares, and everyday dream magic. Please hit like, subscribe, or comment below so I can start creating more content for you guys. There are more parts to this, so I feel like we could have talked about screens before bed, meditation, and working with specific deities and those types of things can also help improve your dream recall. So I will probably make a part two of this, but let me know if you have any questions or if there's anything you want to add or want clarification on. Okay, I'm going to let you guys go, and thanks so much.